Alright, so I want to go over some plasma cutting tips here, and I'm going to use this sports logo as example. So this shape vectorized well for the most part. I'm sure it came offline, and then this has a nice border on it, so that's good because if you're cutting out of steel you need a border. So a lot of the shapes that you see in my classroom when you walk in the door, a lot of those have been plasma cut, and you have to kind of study those because you have some interesting limitations when you're cutting out of steel, when you're cutting all the way through. So for example, on this shape, if the plasma cutter were to cut on this outside line, the whole thing is just going to fall right out. Boom, it'll be gone. Just be the whole outside shape. So if I select the shape and then go transform on group, then I can start to break some things apart and clean it up. So there's a lot of lines here, and although the lines and details look nice, when you put them on the plasma cutter, it's just going to be too much detail. Because you got to remember, you're making the metal's becoming molten, and the machine is blowing through the molten metal with air. So you tend to have some splatters, and some things get really hot, obviously. So if we can make this design less complicated, it's going to turn out a lot better. So now I'm going to erase some of these, and if I do the outside one, it'll give me more space between the other ones. So what you're trying to do is give a little more space between all these, because if you get them too close together, the bridge between them will melt as a plasma cutter cuts. So I'm just trying to concentrate. This one's giving me a hard time to click on. I have to click on the right spot. There we go. So especially over here, if you look at this spot right here, this is a really tight area over here where they're very close together, and they're going to cause some problems. So if I erase them like this, it tends to work out a little bit better. So I'm just coming through here. Same for these. We got a lot going on here. So maybe I would delete these guys. Here there's a little more space now. Trying to clean these up. You just go along and do that. It's a little tedious, takes a little while. But it tends to start looking quite a bit better. Maybe I'll do the inside on these. So it's going to look simpler, not as detailed, but it's going to perform better when the machine cuts it out. So another thing I tend to do, like right here, I don't like how this vectorized out. I mean, it probably was like a shiny part in the picture or something. But I can click on that and go transform, explode, selected contours. Now I can get rid of some of this. So I'm going to just make a little box and try to get rid of some of this. Now I'm going to go over here to endpoint snap. And there's a couple ways you could fix this up. I'm going to go draw arc, and I'm going to hit the bottom one here. And you could maybe bend it this way, might look good. Maybe bend it this way. Sometimes it takes a little experimenting, to see how that's going to look. But you can kind of play with that a little bit. It could just be a straight line across, but I think it needs something other than. It looks like a mistake the way it was, I thought. Now this one doesn't look as bad to me, but maybe I want to fix that one up too. So you can go in here and clean some of this up, and you're trying to delete excess lines that you don't need. So now we still haven't addressed one of our major problems here. One of the major problems is when it cuts this line, this shape will the whole thing will fall through the sheet. So we need to make some breaks or bridges on this. And I could go transform, explode contours, and just erase sections. But then I have to regroup the whole thing, which kind of is a lot of work. So sometimes I just do this method, depending on the shape. I'm going to undo my snap. I just kind of make a couple bridges here. Oh man, I didn't actually turn the button off. Alright, and I go transform or draw, trim by boundaries, all boundaries. So now I'm just going to cut out a section here, and now I can erase these dummy lines. So now the shape won't follow the metal because it'll be stuck on right here. And I should probably make a couple of those. I'd probably make another one over here, another one over here. Alright, so then if I click on this, and I go toolpath, I'm going to use open offset contour. I'm going to make sure this box is selected to middle. Make sure I have the plasma tool and there's a depth. I hit OK. I don't need exit entries on this. I actually just want a dot for an exit entry. I don't want any swiping arcs. So that's how the toolpath would work around that. Then all these other toolpaths, I can hit shift and I can do the outside too at the same time. I just did a couple because I'm trying to move through this. I go toolpath, routing, offset, and I'm going to click external and I hit OK. So now you can see my shapes. This is a really small in size. I need to enlarge this whole thing, and then this will do a better job cutting out. But you see this one goes around the outside. That's what I want. So you can see my exit and entry points around the outside. And then this one goes around the inside. And you can kind of see the exit and entry, but it's a little bit tight in there. So if I make this whole thing a couple inches bigger, it will turn out a little bit nicer. So those are some tips for you. If you do decide to, one thing that I have to go back and do over here, remember how I broke this apart to do this? I have to go back and select these segments, and I can make some boxes around some of it, but I have to get all this back together so it turns blue again. So right now it's purple, but I have to select all these edges, and then I have to go back. Oops, I just moved it, but I have to go back to transform, merge to get those blue again. So this whole segment here, that's the one that I broke apart. I have to go back in and merge it back together before I can put a toolpath on it. So hopefully that makes some sense. Hopefully there's a couple tips there for you that would help keep this logo in, help keep it cleaned up. Now remember, you can't sell this logo. This is definitely a copyright. Everybody can tell what logo that is. But it gives you a good practice for the assignment and get you something going. Alright.